Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. As always, I am your host, Fearless Floyd, and today is Monday, March 18th, 2024. Yep, that's what it is. And as you see behind me, when I lived with Houston's most notorious serial killer who died of COVID-19 almost 2 years ago to the day, David Owen Brooks. And what's really unique and strange is I just heard this song I have Pandora playing in the background, and the song Midnight Special by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Actually, they didn't write it. Hootie Ledbetter is the original author of that song. And you may not know who he is, but he did time on the Central Unit in Sugar Land, Texas. And at midnight, there was a train that went through there, and that was the Midnight Special. That's how that song came to be about. And I believe he wrote that in the 1930s. There you go. And as you see, anybody who's yeah, anybody who's been to TDCJ will clearly recognize this shirt. And I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, you can barely see it, but there's a TDCJ number in the back. These are the thermals that they sell on commissary. I brought a set out with me because remember, I didn't have anything when I got out. So I had to take clothes with me. So anyway, this is David Owen Brooks. And that was probably his latest mugshot that they take in TDCJ. They take it every 5 years. They update your photo and give you a new ID. So you reflect your current age, whatever that looks like. So, if y'all want to like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, knock yourself out. And let's get over here. All right. This is it. Well, here, let me get over here. Oh, so sorry. What? I'm gonna do. There we go. This is from KPRC, NBC affiliate, Channel 2 News here in Houston, Texas, who I do work for through contract, through Texas Sports Production as a director of high school football. So I didn't choose them because of that. I just went and looked for an article. This was published June 10th, 2020. And this is when David passed away at the John Seeley unit. It's actually a hospital in Galveston, Texas. They have a side for the public, and then they have a side for offenders. I'm going to read this. And this is David Owen Brooks. Huntsville, Texas. A one-time henchman of one of the Houston area's most notorious serial killers has died of COVID-19, officials said Wednesday. David Owen Brooks was 65 when he died in a Galveston prison hospital on May 28th, 2 weeks after he had been hospitalized with symptoms consistent with the illness caused by the novel. Y'all know what it is. According to the TDCJ website, he also suffered from a number of pre-existing conditions, but did test positive for the thing, and preliminary results of an autopsy suggested it was a contributing cause of death. So I'm pretty sure he was in bad health because from a mere teenager, he lived his entire life in prison. When I was on the Clemens unit with him, he was the food service manager's bookkeeper, Gerald Cecil. And so, prison food only goes so far before you turn obese and it has no nutrition in it. That's about. But anyway, Brooks was serving 6 life sentences in prison for his part in the reign of terror by Dean Corll, who killed at least 28 teenage boys and young men in Houston in the 1970s. Corll, a Houston Electric Company worker and former candy store owner, used Brooks and fellow teen Elmer Wayne Henley to lure youngsters to his apartment where they were handcuffed and shackled to a plywood torture board before being sexually assaulted and killed. Henley, who said he shot and killed Corll in 1973 in self-defense after hours of drinking and glue sniffing at Corll's Pasadena house, also is serving 6 life sentences. Police then recovered the bodies of their victims, most from Corll's Southwest Houston boat shed. Other bodies were buried in remote areas of East Texas and at the beach on Mustang Island and High Island, boat sheds, et cetera, et cetera. The killings were called the Houston mass murders at the time, the worst in U.S. history. Most of the bodies were badly decomposed, their identities obscured by time and elements. A few were buried with mementos that whispered of their youth and fashions of the day, a brown fringed leather jacket, ankle-high leather boots, shorts and tie-dyed pattern. The condition of their bodies hinted at the agony of their final minutes. Some were wrapped in plastic and encased in a thin layer of lime powder. Others had cords wrapped around their necks, tape strapped around their feet and mouths. A few had been sexually mutilated. One boy was found curled in a fetal position. Henley, who turned 67 on Tuesday, became eligible for parole in 1983, has been denied release repeatedly. God, really? That's the best you got, dude? Wow, that's sick. That's all I got to say about that. So that gives you a brief synopsis. There's actually 28 bodies that were recovered and were able to be identified by Harris County Medical Examiner or other surrounding medical examiners. There are other remains that they cannot identify through DNA, or they have no relatives to compare them with. They don't know who they are. They just have remains of bodies, bones, fragments, teeth, hair, etc., etc. So I know a lot about this case because, I kind of followed it because when I was growing up in the 70s, this was a big thing because they were coming over here into the Heights, which is just a couple miles down from me, and snatching people. And yeah, teenagers were disappearing. People wanted to know where they were going. Bodies weren't being found. It was a kind of a big thing here. Then we had a couple beheadings right over here in White Oak Bayou, and that caused some things. So, I'm still in 70. I was probably either a junior or senior high school. I remember my mom telling me, because of, if you're gonna go necking, mom told me, don't go park at the bayou or a park or somewhere and neck because of all the violent crime that's going on with these beheadings and teenagers missing. Bring her home. Okay, mom, sure thing. And that was a wrap. So many girls got trapped in my lair. All right. This is the information on Elmer Wayne Henley. As you can see, he has a 24 number. They're now in the 2 millions. So that just gives you an idea of how many people have been processed since they've been there. My original first number is 336255. My second one's 459885. And my last one was 112365. Elmer Wayne Henley Jr. He's white. He's a male. He's 67 years old today. He's doing a life sentence. He's currently on the Telford unit. Projected release date, life sentence. Parole eligibility, April 29th, 1980. Can get visitation. Here's his sentences. Like I told you, Nueces County. They just went for the quickest, easiest avenue to get them behind bars ever. Parole review information. I went over this on with Bonnie Thomas. Hello. 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 So we're back. Not in parole review. He was in the last parole decision. He was denied October 16th, 2015. Next parole, he's getting 10-year set-offs, folks. 2D. Nature of offense. The record indicates that the inmate committed one or more violent criminal acts indicating a conscious disregard for the lives, safety, or property of others, where the instant offense or pattern of criminal activity has elements of brutality, violence, or conscious selection of victims' vulnerabilities, such that the inmate poses a continuing threat to public safety, or the record indicates use of a weapon. Next parole date, October 2025. So this guy's getting 10 years set off. So he's going to die in prison just like David Owen Brooks did. And that's something else. Let me tell you a little bit about David. I was transferred to the Clemens unit because I couldn't go to the Ferguson unit, which is where all the teenage warriors go. And when you get in trouble on the Ferguson unit, they sent you to the Clemens unit because that was like the next step up. Well, they just bypassed Ferguson unit, sent me over to Clemens. Oh, I eventually ended up in a 10-man dorm, what they called the pit house, with David Brooks. In the pit house was the warden's housekeeper, the bachelor's officer's quarters housekeeper, field major's bookkeeper, the front office barber, which was the officer's barber, David Brooks, which is the field food service manager. They have the laundry manager's bookkeeper in there as well. Me, about 2 or 3 other guys. I don't remember who they were or what they did. We lived in the small 10-man dorm that was previously the infirmary back in the 30s and 40s, just a real small, probably had a bed or 2 in there, and the rest was the infirmary. And that's where people walked up and got their pills or pill line. But David was originally on D wing in the cell blocks. And I wasn't there at the time, but apparently somebody had found out that he was over on D wing, which is exposed to Highway 3. And somebody from the highway tried to assassinate David by shooting a firearm into D wing. So they moved David into 7 dorm, which was the old supply room. And that house, I think, like 8 offenders. And it was inside the building. Eventually, he moved up there with us, the 10 dorm, when they closed down 7 dorm and turned it into something else. So I lived with him there, up in the dorm with 8 dorm, 7, 8, 9, 10, yeah, 8 dorm. We worked together in food service. I was, let's see, man, I did all kind of things in there when I worked there. I was a butcher. I was a floor cook. Worked on the back dock. Pasteurized milk. I was a milk pasteurizer. I learned a lot in prison. I didn't go there, tell me I went there and got an education. Learned as much as I could about whatever I could. So anyway, I worked with David in the food service department. He was the bookkeeper. So whenever you needed anything or had a question, you didn't go to the captain or one of the other food service managers. You went to David, because David, he did everything. He wrote the IOCs, all type them up, and Cecil signed them off, and off they went. The bookkeepers ran everything. So David ran the kitchen. He ran food service. He didn't want you in there, you were gone. He liked you, you were in there, you stayed in there, you got a good job and taken care of. So for that, David, I appreciate all you did for me. I didn't really treat him like a serial killer. That really didn't affect me because I'm surrounded by violent, brutal, corrupt people. Just what it is. I'm in the dregs of Texas society. We were in the craft shop together, and David worked with Przborski. I can't remember his first name. He was a field major's bookkeeper. They made cedar clocks, like stand-up grandfather clocks. I used to own one that they made, but I got rid of it when my mom died and did an estate sale. It's like, yeah, do I really want to drag this around with me? And, I don't want to sell some serial killer memorabilia. But somebody who came to the estate sale and bought that clock, you own a clock made by a serial killer, David Helen Brooks. So if you came to my estate sale at 6031 Golden Forest back in early 90s, there you go. You got a clock made by a serial killer. So we had that relationship. We had a living relationship, a habitation relationship. We had a working relationship in food service. And then we had this extracurricular relationship up in the craft shop. I worked with leather. I didn't work with wood. So, it's a trade-off. They needed some leather, I do something for them. If I need some wood things, we would trade off. I was real good friends with Prisborski. So, that kind of got me in a little bit tighter with David because David was real quiet, shy, didn't say something unless he needed to say something and wanted to be heard. Um, I never spoke to David about his criminal offenses or anything about that. I should have, but I didn't. I just, that was my first time to go to prison. So, one of the first things I learned is you don't get in other people's business or they'll get you right out of their business real quick, any means possible. You don't know how far you're digging into their business and what all that entails. And like I've told you before, matter of fact, here's a story because I got stories, tons of stories. One night, we're all asleep up in the dorm, me, David, everybody else. And it's, I don't know, about 2:30 in the morning. Boom, man, everybody wakes up. What the fuck's going on? Well, because we lived in the penthouse and where all the politicians live, that means all the movers and shakers, the inmate movers and shakers that can make shit happen. I mean, there's actually inmates that could go down to the security office, pull somebody's hall card, go get it on a typewriter, and move that motherfucker. Walk in with a move slip to the captain, major, sergeant, whoever was on duty at the time, and have those motherfuckers move like that. Yeah, those are the kind of inmates that I was surrounded with. So anyway, what the fuck's going on? Our door's open, so we can come and go anytime we want. We don't have to have a boss turn key or hit some switch to open the door, because we're politicians. Well, apparently on the dorm downstairs and across from us, that was 1, 2, 3, that's 3 to 1. Apparently the butcher who I replaced, so check this story out. The butcher, okay, who has access to boning knives, French knives, butcher knives, any assortment of knives, because Gerald Cecil, the food service manager who ran the food service department on the Clemens unit, was a free world butcher. So he knew how to take a carcass and break that bitch down all the way to hamburger meat and everything in between. Fillets, 7 steaks, sirloins, New York strips, porterhouse, T-bones, the whole 9 yards. He showed us everything. He would order sides of beef and we would break it down. He would teach us how to break it down. Really cool guy. I told y'all I learned a lot. So anyway, this butcher, he was a white boy, and apparently he was a white supremacist. Didn't like the blacks staying up all night, bumping their gums in the back of the dorm, keeping people up. So this guy stole 3 knives out of the food service department and got another white boy who he hooked up. So they actually the butcher taped 2 knives to his hand. Okay. So no matter what he did, they would never be released from his hand, even if he opened his hands. The other guy taped one to his hands. In the middle of the night, 2 black guys are in the back sitting on a little brick wall that separates the toilets from the dormitory. Yeah, that's it. Just like a little 4-foot wall, 3-foot wall. And there's a line of toilets, and you got to go shit in front of everybody in the door. Yeah, piss, shit, everything. You're doing it in front of everybody. So these guys lace themselves up, put on their boots, and they go back there and they commence to stabbing these two black dudes. They stabbed both of them over 100 times. Then they held the whole dorm hostage. Everybody in the dorm, okay, the back of the dorm is just one level because there's another dorm on top. But when you get out to the day room by the hallway, it opens up all the way to the second floor ceiling where you can see up into five, yeah, 6 dorms on my side. So everybody that, especially all the blacks, they were actually in the front in the day room, climbed up on the bars up to the second floor, hiding. They're like in the bars hiding from these guys. These guys still got the knives taped to their hands, and now they're demanding that the district attorney come to the unit so they can start negotiating their plea deal. Word to God. But you don't know, unlike California prisons where guards carry firearms inside the prison and have the authority to shoot an inmate anytime they want. In Texas, it's not like that. The only person that can come in with a firearm into a Texas penal institution is the county sheriff. That's it. Not even TDCJ officials can carry firearms in prison. Have I seen a firearm inside of a prison by a correctional officer? Absolutely. I'm not going to tell you who he is. I will tell you he was a warden. It was after hours. He was in his street clothes and he had a shoulder holster with a pistol in it. Absolutely. So don't think there aren't any firearms in TDCJ. I've seen it. All right. So anyway, they finally get the sheriff and they get up, I don't know, the DA or whoever for Brazoria County. And they're in there negotiating. Everybody's up against the walls. They got officers in there keeping everybody back to the day room. And this goes on for hours before these guys finally surrender to authorities and get taken off the unit. But they had worked out their plea deal. The dude was already doing a life sentence for aggravated assault. The butcher, white boy butcher. He was doing a life sentence for aggravated assault because he kicked some guy's head in with steel toe boots. True white supremacist. And then when they took him off the unit, guess who they came asked to be the butcher? Me. I'm like, holy fuck. And the other butcher's black, and he comes up and he talks to me. He's like, hey man, don't worry about what happened last night. Fuck that shit. I ain't playing that racial crap. And, come on in here, work with me. I'll show you what's up. And, easy job, knock the shit out. And boom, you go home, eat whatever you want, man. You can eat T-bones, porterhouses, fillets, anything that's in this freezer or anything that we get on the weekly trucks. Have at it. Like, Now think about it. Like, yeah, man, I need to know by the end of the day because David's got to assign you. All right. Yeah, I'll let you know. Went talk to some people. Went talk to David. And hey, yeah, that's a good job, man. You need to take that. So I took it. So I was the new butcher. That's just one of the little things that happened on there. These, and believe it or not, they brought one of those black guys back to the unit, put him on the unit. And you can see him in the shower. He had over 100 stab wounds. I don't know how many he had, but you can see just all over his body, hands, feet, arms, everywhere, back, neck. Yeah. Both of them lived through it miraculously. I don't know how, but they brought one back to the unit. He survived. I don't know about the other. That's just some of the little stories I have. But anyway, that's getting back to David. But yeah, those guys are never getting out. They probably made some horrible decisions in their youth, and they're paying for it. They're going to die in TDCJ, which is no fun. Last thing you want to do is get in TDCJ and get ill, because if you get ill, you're dead. They're not going to rehabilitate you. Absolutely not. They just send you off to die. Exactly what they did with David. He was already going through some health issues, and he was one of those pale white, kids that looked like they didn't get a whole lot of nutrition or bad genetics, whatever. And that's what happened to David Owen Brooks. So that's just one of the little stories that I have of my life when I lived with a serial killer, one of the most notorious in Texas, if not the world. No telling how many they actually killed. They still haven't been able to identify. They're 28 total. Could be upwards of, 40, 50. Who knows? We'll never know. Not unless Elmer Wayne Henley wants to spill the beans because he's the only one left. They're all gone. So this isn't a promotion or anything of these individuals that committed these heinous crimes. This is just my story about what I've done, who I've lived with, so you guys have a better understanding that when I tell you folks that I am the real motherfucking deal, I don't bullshit. When I tell you something, I'm telling you because I've lived it. I'm not just making shit up. I've told you folks here. I'll go. Did I get that book in here? Uh, all right, it's a book that I've told y'all about. Walls came tumbling down. Thought I had this pulled up. This book's published in 1987. Let's see. Here you go. In this history of Texas prison reform, the authors note that for many years, prison inmates were considered slaves of the state, or situation that had been somewhat ameliorated by the 1960s. Although the system remained brutal and repressive, most controversial were overcrowded conditions and the use of trustees to enforce discipline. So right here, use of trustees to enforce discipline, those were called building tenders and turnkeys. All right. What is a building tender? Those were the inmates who ran the cell blocks or the dormitories. Okay. And they ruled them with an iron fist or an iron shank. Yeah. You got beat down or you got shanked or whatever. Turnkeys. What are turnkeys? Well, as you're progressing down the hallway, there's these big gates in the middle of the hallway for when they need to lock down specific areas. Those used to be locked constantly. And the only way you could get through there was with the turnkey. That was an inmate that had the big brass key that opened that gate. Or they had turnkeys that turned keys to open up a cell block door to get into the cell block or into the dormitory. So if you needed out, guess who you had to talk to? Turnkey. So if you needed out to go hustle, you got to break off to the turnkey. And then if you got to get down further down the hall, you got to break off that turnkey, break off that turnkey, break off that. By the time you get down the hall, you ain't got nothing left to deliver. You done gave everything to the turnkeys, paying them off to get through. And yes, it was brutal. Sexual assaults, rapes, turning people out to become punks. You don't know what a punk is? That's a prison homosexual. It's going against their will. In 1967, prison advocacy lawyers became involved. And since then, the Texas Department of Corrections, which is now the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, has been revamped and the prisons altered. Ex-prison guard and ex-special assistant state attorney general Martin and University of Texas sociology professor Eklund Olson here detail the process by which changes were made, with emphasis on a pivotal case, the Rez versus Estelle class action suit. The book will be of interest to peniologists, criminologists, sociologists, but is too regional and specialized for general readers outside the Lone Star State. That's why I read it, because I was inside the Lone Star State penal institution. Okay. So basically, what this does is it gives you the history of Texas prisons and prison reform. That's what it should say, because it tells you the evolution of the first prison in the state of Texas. It was a territorial prison that they turned into a state prison. And then they started building penal institutions across the state of Texas. In 1845, I believe, and again in the 1880s, starting I think at 1881, that went all the way up into 1889. Those are the big red brick buildings. Um, and then again they did another building boom in the 1930s with the red brick buildings. And then again in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, they went on a bigger construction boom. And in the 80s, they were actually building units like the Beto 1 unit, which took forever to build. And then in the 90s, they started taking over retired Air Force bases and started building more dormitory style mini warehouse type prisons, because they're cheaper to build. But this gives you a story of how the Texas prisons evolved, who all the movers and shakers were. Of course, it's going to cover George Beto. For those of you who don't know who George Beto is, he had 2 prison units named after him. He was the former director of TDCJ, prison warden. He's a professor at Sam Houston State High School for the criminal justice program. His daughter is married to, he's probably retired now, former warden J.Y. Walker. And that's where I used to work for Andy Collins, the former director of TDCJ, who was an assistant warden at that time on the Beto 1 unit who I worked for. I was smart, good looking, well spoken, and yeah, I was a politician because all they did is look at my IQ and EA. EA is your education. What that score is, whether you're still in high school, elementary school, high school, or you have a college education. Somehow it deciphers that. I don't know how that works, but that's what it is. Anyway, they are obviously on their 3rd printing. These books start about $40 online. I used to have this book and I gave it away. And now I wish I hadn't, but there's a lot of people in this book in the index that I personally know. I've personally met, personally spoken to. Yeah. When I tell you guys that I'm the real fucking deal, that I've done what I say I've done, and I know who I say I know, I'm not bullshitting with you guys. Okay? As I do with all my videos. I swear to tell truth, whole truth, nothing but truth, so help me God. That's it. That's all I got. Y'all want a bunch of fucking smoke blown up your ass and a bunch of good feelings and hopium and all that, y'all got to go to the channel. Y'all got to go find somebody else. I'm not that guy. I'm gonna break it down to you in black and white. There's no gray areas with me. I'm not fudging anything. So all you folks who, poo-poo what I have to say, hey man, knock yourself out. Go live your life. You want to walk on that fine line razor's edge, knock yourself out. I'm not doing it. I'm gonna try to save as many people as I can. So anyway, this is my story. David Owen Brooks, and when I lived with a serial killer and what that looked like. And I'm sure I've lived with several other ones that I didn't even know about, and who cares, right? This is the big one. Part of my life experience that I'm sharing with you to make me who I am today. This is why I am the way I am. It's people like this, my beliefs and my knowledge and my willingness to research and read and find the answers. I hope everybody had a safe St. Patty's Day. You didn't get too hungover from the green beer. I definitely did not go out and do anything. I stayed home. I'm just not into these big celebrations. I don't like being around a lot of people, especially around a lot of drunk people. That's when stupid shit happens. How do I know? Because I used to be one of those drunk people and make stupid shit happen. I That's why. So when I tell you guys that I know fully capable and well what the intentions of prison inmates are, what they talk about doing, what they talk about done in their past, how they're going to go hit these licks when they get out, how they're going to go run some new scam or whatever. I've been privy to that, so I already know it. When I tell you guys something, I see red flags, y'all better pay attention. That's the only thing I can tell you. Y'all don't have to listen to me. You don't have to watch. You can give me thumbs down all you want. You can leave all the negative, bad, oh, Floyd, you're full of shit, and whatever comments you want. I don't care. I really don't. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to continue to make my videos, period, in the story. So if you're hating on me, you want to be a hater, be a hater. You're just wasting your time, money, and energy. That's all I'm going to tell you. I'm going to continue to do what I do, period, in the story. You cannot stop me. You want to stop me? Meet me at LA Fitness. Bring your gloves, bring your mouthpiece. May the best man walk out. You walk out, hey, guess what? I'll shut the fuck up. How's that? Y'all want to come play with me? Come play. We can have some fun. Because it's all about fun. Because we're going to walk out and we're going to have a whole new respect for each other. Regardless of the outcome. Win, lose, or draw. Right? Absolutely. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. You all like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, leave a comment below. If you want to reach me, TheFearlessFloydShow at yahoo.com. Most of you know my phone number. Don't call me before 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's all I ask. I am The Fearless Floyd Show across almost every social media platform you're going to encounter or participate in. I'm mainly over on Telegram, so come over there and hang out with us. If you don't like me, you don't like what I've got to say, hey, unsubscribe, unnotify, hit that dislike button, and leave a comment below and tell me I suck. I can accept all that. And, please put your real name, don't come some YouTube pseudonym, alias, I'm 123 gibberish. That's why you see I'm Fearless Floyd, and I tell you flat out, my full name is Floyd Pleasant Tarvin IV. Google me. How many gurus tell you that? How many gurus take an oath before they do a video or during a video to swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth? So help them God. Nobody. Nobody's doing what I do. None of your gurus are going to do that. And it's not going to do it. David Lestrade's not going to do it. Christopher Hauser's not going to do it. Patrick Marino's not going to do it. I can just keep going down this fucking list. They're not going to do it. They're not going to make statements under oath. Oh, and I do have a correction. Okay. Because when I did my Bonnie video, I said Kelly Strong was the warden over on the hobby unit. I was incorrect. She was the warden at the Murray unit. HOBBY, So very similar, but different. So I stand corrected on that. And you have my apologies for any misconception that I may have caused when you're doing your own search. Find out who Kelly Strong is and where she's actually worked. So there you go. She's over at the Huntsville unit, which is the Walls. Y'all want to go check her out, call her, give her a call, say, hey man, when blah, 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 blah. Ask her if she knows Floyd.Tarvin. All right. I'll catch y'all later, man. Y'all have fun. I got another video coming out later too. I may just make a phone call to the Department of Homeland Security or the FBI Information Office and then ask them directly, is an American state national a sovereign citizen? How is that defined by your organization? How would you like that? Y'all ready for that? I got some new stuff. A6 Grind Time sent me something back channel. Ooh, A6. So there's 3 of us working on that document right now. We're going to